Here we are looking at the best momentum companies on the ASX, and it is a great time to be a momentum trader. We're coming towards the end of reporting season. We've had opportunities abundant, rotating through the capital, hitting profit targets. It's been a phenomenal time to be a momentum trader, and the portfolios are really showing that. We also look at the Launchpad list. These are both lists that we share with YouTube members. Thank you very much for your support, YouTube members. They get the list on a Thursday afternoon at the same time that Gary does. And he goes through the list, pulls out his favorite charts, things to look at, possible trades, setups, lessons from the market, and really good ones to pull apart either price action or volume analysis to see how that does create a good position or actually a bit of a false indicator and want something to be careful of. At the same time, the YouTube members get to put forward their requests. So we'll walk through those. And Gary's got a nice quote that's just popped out in front of him in this week, and he wanted to share that with us. So we'll look at that a little bit later, something that makes traders sort of look at our own portfolio, reflect, and make sure that we're doing the right thing. So it's a lot to look at, Gary, but on this Friday, how are you on a bright and sunny day here in Sydney? How is it in Melbourne?
Melbourne's pretty cool. I think we've got a cold weekend ahead, so but I'm suffering from a little bit of man flu actually, so I'll battle through. But the market is looking after us. I mean, it's funny, Jake. I think I mentioned to you earlier that I had two positions I got stopped out on today, and I don't think I've been stopped out on two positions the whole week. So it's been another incredible week for momentum traders in the market there. But yeah, I did get stopped out two positives today, but one a bit tight, the other one kind of gapped through me, so I had to sort of adjust. But it has been, yeah, it's been still a pretty strong market here. I'm heading off end of next week for a week. Tempted just to shut it all down, lock in the profit here and just sit back. It's been a great period. It's been probably one of the best start I've ever had to any financial year, personally. That's yeah, so it's been a phenomenal run here. I mean, those scores. What do you see here?
Look, on the that's a good question, because in a way I wish we'd done this yesterday, because so I'm just logging in here. This is what members get to see. They log in, I'll make it full screen so it's easier to get the numbers. But if we just looked at it and zooms in the way that you can't see, but I'll get that out of the way. These numbers that we had up here, so this solid blue line, we use this in conjunction with momentum profile. All of this together is just telling us how good the opportunities are on the ASX. And we've been peaking. Well, as the index has made new highs, the momentum opportunities have been even better. So it's better than Thursday was better than 88% of days that we've seen in the last 12 months. We had a really high number of companies on the tradable companies on the ASX over their 50-day moving average. So as it was on Thursday, you had a 25% better chance of just finding a random company that would go up 10% in the next month. That's just picking any random company on the ASX. What was funny was that earlier in the week, and when you said you were having an absolute tear of a week, like just shooting the lights out, best performances, this number down the bottom, this bold and purple number, was actually 75%. So you're almost twice as likely to find any random company on the ASX go up 10% within the next month. And some of them did that in a day. Oh, you've been trading reporting season. Is that kind of, how's it been with the volatility and the momentum setups coming into a reporting season for you?
Yeah, it seems bigger this year. I don't know. It seems there's some big moves there. I mean, I had three stocks that gapped up and in one day, which was pretty cool. You don't get that up very often. And when they're all up, 8, 10 and 15% or something like that. So take that. But I mean, I did have one there last week there, which was down 10% of my super fund, but I did get sort of stopped out before it got
ugly.
Yeah, before it got there. But yeah, it's but seems like the vol's pretty high this year. I've definitely been finding that one of the things I actually had done a bit. I wasn't going to mention this, but with been on a few stocks that have actually gapped up really aggressively. And I've traded some into that heat off the earnings, and they've faded intraday. And then I've managed to sort of put some of the position back on again, and then it's gone higher the next few days. But yeah, so I had a good run at that until today. So one of those which had worked all week didn't work today. That's just the market, But yeah, that's the way it goes. But yeah, no, it's been a pretty good period. So I mean, yeah, I mean, when those scores are pretty high, it's yeah, it's phenomenal period here, I guess. Yeah, I mean, we are, weird thing to me, Chris, is because I'm in my sort of amber zone, I sort of think this is where we normally get a bit of a sideways or a congestion there. I'm betting a bit lighter. So even with sort of more cash here and smaller position size, are still getting big movement. So yeah, and I've sort of, because I'm an amber too, I'm taking my profits a little earlier. So instead of being 2.75 and maybe 3.5 and 5.5, something like that, I've sort of been taking a little bit like 2.5 and 3.5. So taking them a little bit earlier. So yeah, so it's been so far that's working. I'm wondering if I'm too shallow, but it's possibly a very buoyant amber period, and maybe it won't be this buoyant normally. So I'm going to stick with my rules there until I get overwhelming evidence from a bit more of a larger subset that may be but yeah, I'm kind of trading more like a Minabini there, where he's probably a bit more turnover, tighter risk reward, probably going for less multiples or risk there. So yeah.
Well, that's a good way to adjust the portfolio, stay adaptive to what the market conditions are. And there's a new insight we'll probably share next week with signal strength and how to use the Launchpad. We've just released that with members this week, so we're getting some initial feedback on that. But it does fit in with your amber zone, sort of the times to use momentum lists more, and then there are times to lean into the Launchpad more. So that's probably a good segue to say it has been a solid period on the market. So I'll stop the screen share. I'll turn it on so that Gary can share his screen.
Can I ask you a question? So I know you're sort of hinting at sort of some stuff there, but are you sort of inferring that the stocks on the momentum list, the stocks that have been the strongest for a while, they're outperforming the Launchpad?
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. Is it?
So,
It's funny you actually said that, because I felt that.
okay.
And to the point where, like, a lot of the stocks that were actually gapping up, stocks that were showing strength already. So I've been running, and I feel that this too. We're actually seeing stronger names are actually popping up, and so it's funny. Like normally when I get nervous if I see a stock run hard into reporting season, and a few stocks I've actually taken money off. If I've seen it run up pretty hard and it's pulling up, I'll now take my money off. And a couple I've done that actually it's worked out pretty well, but some of those names that have been running for quite a while, they've just been showing strength. And particularly, if you see them have a congestion just before this earnings season as well, so they've been strong,
Yeah.
and they tightened up, and then they're just starting to edge through, and in reporting season, it's just like, oh man, I've seen these regular names, they're all popping up here. The ones that have shown that relative strength and then congested, and then so whereas you might be a little bit hesitant around reporting season, but yeah, I mean, it's just, that's one observation. I thought, man, some of the leaders have just shown even more strength here. So, it's been unbelievably strong.
Well, I'm surprised you said that. We haven't talked about this before, but normally, we've talked about reporting season. Sometimes I'll lighten my positions and just go half into the earnings and sort of head each way bet in a sense because I can't understand it. But now that we've got this momentum profile and we've got the signal strength, I'm understanding how good the quality is of momentum opportunities on the ASX right now. I've been comfortable holding those positions into earnings. And just like you said, I've had a fair few gap up and I've been really happy with that. Sold into strength. That's me out. I'll look for another setup, move the capital on. But just like you've been talking about, they have that momentum into it. And that's what I've just been studying for the last month. Well, 5 years if you really want. But the momentum leaders have been exceptionally strong. We've had great opportunities. And when I looked at the two different lists, Launchpad, Momentum, we found the times to lean into it. And this is definitely where we are right now with that momentum profile. I've got her on the momentum list and then just keep looking through there for those, what you're talking about, the rally, the pause, wait for the coil, wait for a pocket pivot, something like that, or a B wave, and then take the next run. the probability of those running is much higher. Whereas when we lean into the launch pad, it's normally after we've had a washout. And that's where you and I are trawling through that launch pad list every single week, trying to identify the next market leaders, because the market's in a void of leadership. So those things that we've been talking about for years and sort of feeling, the numbers have come up and confirmed it. So surprising, you and I have both been able to lean into the momentum, and it's done really well for us. And we haven't seen much coming from the launch pad, and that's supported by the data. So that's the interesting addition that we just gave to members this week, was that going to turn into a seesaw as to when we lean into momentum or launch pad. But that was a key insight that I'm glad you've seen it in the market. I've seen it in the market, and the data backs it up. But we do want to see those momentum leaders. So when you're looking in the list this week, I'll turn my share off so you can get your list up there. These are the quarterly momentum companies. So over the last 62, 63 days or so, we have a look at their performance and then calculate their momentum. And then that list ends up being ranked. Which ones have the best momentum? We do have some filters in there. You're not going to have something that only trades $1,000 a day and goes up 50%, like the Hong Kongese company that shot the lights out.
This one.
We
KLR.
The volume is just blown up though, so it has met our volume criteria. But yeah, that did not show up in the launchpad at all. It was not there. So it's
pretty amazing. This is up like 3,000% or something on the first or second day trading here. I've sent it back on. So it's obviously it was locked up for a while. Very tight register, which is always an ingredient for big moves. Actually, the whole thing's tightening up here. It's pretty interesting. They do have a drilling program starting early September, so geez, you never know here. I think we're trying to think what was the cotton one there that had the big jump there, jump and then come up and then it was a cotton.
We'll come to you, but there was also that about a month or two ago, there was that Hong Kong company which went up like 42,000% or something like that.
Yeah.
Oh,
could have been the wool. Was it wool company that did the does the wool stuff? I think something starts to see. I don't think it was now.
If a trader can remember, put the comment down below and we'll have a look at it. But it's we do occasionally see some amazing charts like that where you just blows your mind that kind of thing can happen.
But I think this stock here initially, had a big jump. It seemed crazy for that sort of company, and then it eased back, and then it had an even bigger jump. Well, what the hell's going on here? And then it's pretty much not crashed and burned, but now it's crashed back to earth, and now it's just trading normally. They're bundling, not doing much at all, but it had like a double whammy aggressive spike here. So you could get another spike on that one. You just never know.
Yeah, it can happen.
But, I noticed that number 3, B and M, was sort of one just pretty interesting there, because that did have that little bit of strength there. Had the VCP and the little cup and handle here out of the low. And then, so whether you're buying a 52-week high or this nice little cup here, there was nice little strength there. Good volume through there. Nice little handle. And you're coming through here and breaking out. So even just buying the breakout there, Chris, as well as made a pretty decent move here. And even look, you're seeing here, look, still no selling here. So we're still popping here without selling. So
you can barely see a red bar on the volume down the bottom.
Yeah. Look, it's too small for me, but they're not sort of, I think this is sort of similar. And I had that slightly bigger move that Falcon did come back here, but pretty much has held the 10. So, that's the one thing I was actually reading. I was reading something about Qullamggie during the week there. And how Qullamggie used to get always, because he'd be live streaming his trade. People were saying, "Oh, what about this stock? What about this stock?" And he said, "You're just sending me random stocks. You're gonna get random results." He said, "What he mentioned was he mentioned the word linearity, and what he was talking about was obviously having that big burst from the stock, but then having that sort of linear traction and having a breather, say staying in the top third or something like that, staying pretty tight, but the whole thing tightening up. But what he mentioned specifically is the 10 and the 20-day moving averages. So, if you get that first congestion, you're able to hold those moving averages. That's what he wanted to see. So, we've been showing these stronger stocks there, and you can sort of see that, either the 10 or the 20 here, they do tend to hug them. So you can see this pull back to the 20 here and then held here. Okay, so it held the 20, and then it comes through first here, and then it congests again, has a bit of a pullback here. Now it hugs the 10 here. So okay, holding the 10 here. So again, so those are the type of things that he looked for. Is that strength, the pullback there, tighten up, but then he really wants to look at the 10 and 20-day moving average there, so to see whether the stocks can actually hold there. So it doesn't mean you just go and buy them off the 10 and 20. You want to sort of see support there. I know Brian Shannahan, who wrote the book about, he works on the he's got the volume profile, which is, and the weighted VWAP. So he looks like, he might use a 30-minute chart or a 1 hour chart or a 1 week, 1 month. So he looks at VWAP. So basically volume weighted average price. And he looks at where the majority of the stock's been traded. This is a psychology. If most people are traded around this sort of shelf, that's the point where you've got the biggest amount of winners or losers if it tips over or under. So psychology of that price point is where it's traded the most, is a shelf, a really important shelf for the stock. And so he uses this weighted average as an indicator. So like Qullamggie using the 10 and 20, Brian Shannon's using its VWAP. None of them just go and buy recklessly at the 10, 20 or the VWAP. They want to see the support come in at that level first. And then see support, and then they're going to buy on a sign of strength off that support. So
they want to see confirmation that this level of support is holding, and then they look for a setup, which for you might be a B weight or something like that.
So the better traders, they're not just buying willy-nilly at the 10, 20, 50. They're watching those levels, but they're looking for signs of support, and then they look for a sign of strength there. So whether they drill into the half hourlies or whatever timing they drill into, they want to see support held at those levels and then some strength, and then they'll buy later. So once that level's been, it says held and shown it's going to hold, then they'll buy strength coming out of that. So it might even be, I know Jack sells there, he looks at certain moving average as well, and this we call it demand tail, and then he'll buy a range break. So if he gets like a demand tail and it breaks above that range next day, he'll just buy it above that range, So he waits for a break of the previous day's range before he'll enter. So he's looking for strength. So it's interesting there. They're all got different techniques, but they're all following the same principles, in that they're waiting for that strength to be shown. And in minute meeting is the same. He wants to see, it's the whole, I keep listening to that phrase, sort of like, you're buying stocks at lows and then you don't put a stop and it goes low and you buy more. You think you're a contrarian. You buy penny stocks and low PE stocks, that's not contrarian. That's, he said, you're doing that. That's what everyone's doing. That's why everyone's returns suck. So the people who are buying, coming through like a 1 month high or 3 months or 12 months, they're buying strength. So basically they're looking for that support and then some strength, and they're buying into strength there. So not trying to pick lows, they're actually, they're looking for the support first, sign of strength, consolidation and breaking through. So I just think it's a really important distinction when we look at it, because we see these. We saw Drone Shield has hugged the 10-day whole time. Geez, a minute, that stock here has been a beast down. Look, 110, 110, 110. Then a break here. Okay, did get back above the 10 here, and then it's then it's broken the 10 again. So now come back to the 50 there. It's pretty interesting. But it just shows you the strongest names that will hug there. See how there's that strength congestion. Strength congestion on the 10. That's what the pros are looking at. They're looking for that sort of stuff here. They see us holding here, but they want to buy a range break or something coming out of this, you know, or maybe even waiting for a new high. They won't be trying to buy the low here. They'll be looking for the support at the right level, sign of strength, and maybe they might buy that. You know, so the high was 247. They might say if this goes above yesterday's high, I'll buy into that strength. That's what the professionals are doing. They're buying into strength, and so just to be careful trying to pick lows here, even in the strongest names. I divert there, but I just thought it was really an interesting distinction there as to what you're looking at there. And you just I was sort of listening to different people there, but they're all using something slightly different, but
They're all
similar.
Support, confirmation, and then breakout, strength, confirmation once again.
Yeah, and then eventually, so he's always he's buying the stock when it's going to a new high. It might be the new high for the week or the month or for the last 3 months or for the year.
We've had a great couple of weeks, and 2 weeks ago you kept saying, "Oh, I've just bought so many companies at new highs." It's just 1 month high, 3 month high, 6 month high, 52-week high, and you've had a great week the last couple of weeks. So
yeah, I feel like the the blockhead has finally sunken in. Because you sort of you read these principles, relative strength and buying strength there, but invariably you get you'll buy something that you like on weakness. Oh, that's going to be a low. Well, that's, I don't know. You'll keep making those mistakes there. So that's why I was sort of like proud there last week. So I thought, oh, that's like, 5 months since I bought a low.
Out of your roof. All right.
Of something. Yeah. I've gone, and that just happened to sort of correspond with my best period of the market by not breaking those rules, just buying strength. So, yeah, but it takes a little while to get your head around that concept. I mean, you think you're doing it, but sometimes you're not, and sometimes you might step out of it, and yeah. But it is hard to look top right. Our brains aren't made to look top right.
Yeah, we all want to go to the discount counter and buy it on sale.
Yeah. That's interesting there. This DTR was one that we spoke about previously. It's one that I really liked there, but just didn't fit my criteria because it was a small stock here. But this is a perfect setup here. Big volume shelf here. Driven up here. It's pulled back here. Didn't hold off any of the keys. Moving averages there. Over the 50 here. And then built again. It's come back here and congested there. There's a nice little D-wave break for me. Then coming through the top as well. And then you're seeing volume. And then what you just didn't see was any selling in here. So no selling in here as well. So that's what, strength.
Some of the lightest volume since before the break.
Yeah. And then you're breaking through here. It's a really, really good setup here. So, there was one here just recently. I'm pretty upset with myself actually for missing this one. I did try to buy this actually, but again, nice strength there, good sector, pull back, light volume, pulled up here, good strength, pull back, light volume. Then we start building here. Look at that congestion there. That was, man, I mucked around here over a tick. Yeah. Then I'm chasing it the next day and then it's getting too far away from me and then, yeah. But that's a perfect example. That's, you've got strength, big move, big congestion. We know these can take 3 months, 5 months, 7 months sometimes to congest and then go again. So, but then we got a VCP in here as well. The whole thing tightens up again. You just
on the 50-day moving average and oil right at the end.
Yeah. I definitely think these patterns there, these are much better above the 50 than below. So when sometimes these set up under the 50, like it still work, don't get me wrong. But the ones that set up above the 50, sitting on the 50 like this, that's pure gold. Just print that chart off. And then anytime you see anything like that above the 50, similar sort of setup, just, you just get risk management. Something go wrong, but those are the setups where you can get big exposure first. So, yeah.
That's what we're filtering for. Yeah.
Look, that's probably my only mistake I've made this week. That one. So, not going to beat myself up because I've had a pretty good start this last couple of months there. So, DVL, bit small for me personally, but it's been strong here. Just held that 20 the whole way up here. pretty solid volume all the way through here, but it's still, still not seeing any weakness there. Too small for me personally. I thought EOS is just telling me just to be a little cautious with some of those. Starting to see some of those military stocks starting to overbalance there, start to correct, starting to make some, starting to break through some of those moving averages there. So, just got to be a little cautious here with some of those now. Yeah. CDA, I mean, gee, when I saw that, Chris, I thought, why aren't we looking at this in the model book? Because this was a model book previously. I mean, I'm just looking at a 2-year chart.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable for that. So very, very strong here. Just robust trend here. So where that's pretty much hugged the 10 all the way through here. Once it's sort of broken out here, little congestion pattern, a little B wave. Broken through another high, broken through the all-time high. I mean, maybe you could have bought some off the B wave here, put some at the secondary high, bought some on the third high, because then you break even so much lower here, just riding this thing here. Comes back to the 50, that's pretty interesting as well. I'm definitely starting to look at these MAs a bit more now. Now there's a sort of, again, the brain's been looking at it's like, I've been looking at these for years and years and years, the last 3 or 4 years, doing all this work. But they realize that a lot of these sort of stronger names, they come back to those key moving averages. They can break them, don't get me wrong, and they will cut through a few of them. But gee, when they hold at those key moving averages and then they go again, I mean, that's you could have seen that day and thought, oh, gee, this holds the 50-day moving average. That's pretty solid. That might be area gets support here. Okay, well, let's buy, if it breaks above this high, maybe we buy a starting parcel, then where we go, and then maybe we top up it if it breaks above the high again. But again, look at that. That's hugged the 10 here, and it does shake you out here. So you might have got shaken out of some of your, position up here, but then the whole thing's just gone scrap again. But this stock's been strong here, man. The volume's been pretty robust as well. I mean, even that, you look at that, that's pretty, it's not maybe only 1 or 2 half decent volume days down in there, really. So, yeah. But, yeah, it's been a pretty bucket here. Zip. Again, pretty robust. They had a pretty decent move here. This has hugged the 20 here, out of the low here. So, found support at the 20, hugged the 20, found, broke through a little, even coming in here late here, a little B wave here. So this is our little VCP in here, tightening, showed strength, good volume. Breaks above it here and it goes through. It's had a pretty run. This is, does break the 10 and the 20, but does set up again here. Let's pull back here, holds the 50 again, So, yeah, it would have been tough to buy that gap here. Not something I would probably coming into earnings as well, probably makes it a bit risky as well. But pretty strong here. It's pretty strong here. Just, these things are getting extended here now. That's probably the only thing is this. Now they're getting pretty far away from the moving average. So I do think if you haven't sold any there, you probably, I'll be trimming into heat there, and I'd probably personally tighten up this right up here to the 10 or something like that.
Yeah, well, that's been on an absolute tear. You're almost at the end of the 30-30 piece, but there's still a few requests in there. What's are there any more?
FML is, just FML was the number 29 was the last one on the list. I did actually see this here. I did see that pop in a strength and pull back. And I did see this VCP in here tightening up here earlier. And I thought, oh, this breaks through here. This would be a good sign there. But I went and looked up the company, and I did a bit of homework on it. I just didn't like what I read. It sort of seemed a bit risky, a bit spivvy. There was a few things I didn't like about it. So I just thought, no, I want to trade companies that I'm just.
And it was also under 50 cents. So you probably want a really strong setup of story.
Yeah.
We trade there.
Yeah. I don't know. I like to sleep well. So, I don't like being things that I'm uncomfortable with. And so I can't remember what it was now, but I just thought I was sometimes just read a little bit risky to me. So, but again, it was a great setup here, strength, congestion, VCP, pullback through here. So, yeah.
Well, 29, number 30 is one of the requests, VR1, and there's a couple further up in the list, but VR1's the next in the list.
Yeah, a bit small here for me, but nothing wrong on the chart here. It's still ticking away. Just a bit small.
And LVX, we've looked at this one before, not.
That VR1, see how the 50
Yeah.
has been important for that stock? See how it hugged the 50 on the way out.
On the left-hand side of the chart, October, November, December.
Yeah.
And then
On the way down, it tags it as well. And it breaking above it, held it.
And by the time the 10 and the 20-day moving averages crossed over the 50-day moving average, it was kind of ready to go again.
Yeah, yeah. It's a certain moving average is definitely, even some of the smaller names there. And I remember this, I've read this book called Trendwise and Tripwise or something, it was a very obscure there, but his theory was that that every stock has two angles that they predominantly run, like a
40 or a 30 or something.
and an aggressive angle. So when they're just trending normally, I'll trade a certain angle. When they're trending, they'll trade this angle. He said, so it's like every stock's got its personality, but he said there was two layers to every stock, or two gears. It's like a car's got 4 gears. He was saying stocks have only got 2 gears. So which I thought was an interesting sort of theory there. But yeah, but the moving averages do tend to sort of show a little bit of that. If you look at enough of these names. What was the other stock?
LDX. Yeah.
Yeah, they've been pretty strong here. 110, then 120. Nothing wrong at this stage here. There was a bit of selling there off that. There was like 3 or 4 days down here, so that would have been a little bit negative, breaking the 10 that held the 10 prior to that. So, it's too small for me, but that would have had me out a little bit of it.
Yeah. They're always going to have resistance to that 10.5, 11, that kind of, just because of the tick value, right? 5% one tick.
Yeah. But, you prefer to see them, if they come back, there's that hook trade, that, so when you see a stock gap up on the good news, it might fade and then round up again. There's that, I've seen people refer to this as a hook trade. And they tend to pull back about 4 or 5 days like this and then go again. So it's actually quite an interesting little, I haven't done enough homework on it, but it's kind of like when, people talk about the fallback technique and the markets, mirror themselves out. Well, yeah, surely not. And then I just kept seeing it everywhere. Someone talking about this hook trade, and I started to see it more and more. Particularly, say it's almost like you get the episodic pivot, but it goes too hard. So maybe it goes past your 14, so you leave it alone. So it'll tend to sort of hook back. But yeah, maybe maybe if you see this hook trade, maybe I've got to work on this, but maybe there's a 5-day congestion pullback, and then you look for like a range break. So again, you're waiting for strength. So down, 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 down. Wait for it to break the first, swing high, first daily range. So what's that? 6.4 is the high. So you say, okay, as soon as it breaks above 6.4, I'll buy some. You put your stop in at the low of that previous range. You're pretty tight. And let the market do what it's going to do. But it's an interesting trade. Actually, I say it's maybe someone out there can do some homework for us. Share it with us.
Yeah. But how this trade goes. I'm sure it's been really successful in the last this reporting season. It's 2 others on the momentum list. NVU, November Victor.
Yeah, give it just too small, but pretty
that 10-cent level again.
Yeah. So it's sort of hugged the 10 and the 20 as well. What's probably the most constructive there is a volume press. So you look at that history of the stock, that a few little bursts here and there, but this most recently that's been a really strong burst here. So good chunky solid volume there, sort of driving the stock here. So still pretty strong here.
And so last one on the list, AYA, which is number 6 on the list.
Hey, what? Yeah, I mean, that was a nice VCP. It was actually like a slightly higher uh, sort of cup and handle. So this is sort of like a higher, it's like a cup here, but a higher there. Did come back in little three waves and then did break a little B wave. In the past, I wouldn't have liked that. I like to see a nice cup like that's a better cup and handle there. So the probably is in some regard. But I don't really like seeing really short, sharp handles. I prefer to see a longer sort of three wave handle. But now I've seen just as many handles pull up just shy underneath, or just above. So it shouldn't really matter. Um, whereas I think in the past it did matter for me. I don't know why it did. Uh, whereas I think it's just more to see this. You just want to see that strength. Yeah, and what you sort of see there, you see some pretty strong volume coming out of that low. So the volume profile is good. And then and the whole thing dries up in here. It's a pretty light volume. Even these few days here.
Nothing.
Yeah. That's when you know you're onto something too. Like if you do get your strength, your burst, and the whole thing tightens up, then at the very end, the last day or two, there's just no volume.
Anemic. Okay.
Yeah. That's when you that should really like pick your ears up. Like there's an intelligent conversation going on. Heard something that could change life. That's what the trade should be. That should really pick your ears up. When you see that almost a death in the volume, there's absolutely nothing going on in the stock. That should be, that's the moment after you had this three waves tighten up here. That just tells you there's just no selling here. No one's selling the stock here.
That, what you're talking about there, is why the report comes out at about 2:00, so that the members have a time to run that whole coils list and look at the coils list and go, oh my goodness, there are 5 here that have no volume. Let me run through. Okay, I'll actually trade. So that's how I use it coming into the close. It just is enough time to sort of, I don't like it coming at 3 or 3:30. I feel a bit pressured, but 2, I completely agree with that. You see that low volume, tight closes, coil near the high. I can take a good risk reward on that.
Yeah. We can go back and actually study all those sort of, VCPs and breaks and the cup and handle and breaks, and then drill into some of the, you drill into the charts in the last few days, you just see that, I reckon see that probably 2/3 of the time, Chris,
Yeah.
of the volume just anemic, So
Is anyone still trading this? Did it have a trading halt halfway through the day? Why? What happened? No, it was just light.
I'm watching in stock at the moment, which has had a nice burst, and then it's pulled back, and then it's gone to the high again, and then making a little handle, but the handle's busy. The volume's going through on the handle. It's like, why can the volume just dry up, be anemic like a good handle should? That's so.
Like a good handle shook. Well, we moved to the launchpad now, and this is a part of that we normally go through and say, look, have you seen any thematics in there? What's popping out to you? But what we've found over the time is the longer the momentum market gets pushing and the momentum opportunities are better, the less likely we are to find a thematic to pop out to us and be very obvious. And then the further we get into it, the less nuanced the themes are in the launchpad and the more general they get. We end up with things like financials, healthcare, industrials, utilities at the top of the list. And well, that's not really inspiring. And that's exactly it. That's when we're leaning into the momentum. So I've asked that without checking first, Gary. Did any themes pop out to you in this week's launchpad?
One thing stuck out to me, and that's kind of around a theme that I've been following really closely, is that, as I mentioned last week, I just think this energy thematic is just, I think it's really going to drive the market here for a while. So anytime we see one of those energy thematics maybe have a bit of a dip and then maybe start to build again, we should be on our radar. So definitely noticed that in the early part of the week here that the uranium names were all popping. So I did try to buy one of those, but it kind of gapped above. But I was just hoping we might congest there, because I know those uranium stocks, they're pretty gacky. They gap up and gap down. And last time I was trying to buy strength, I was buying gaps, so, and then they would gap back underneath. and then gap back above. So they're a little tricky to trade, but definitely noticed that thematic was pretty strong here. So yeah, there's a few uranium names in there, but I reckon we should just be in general be watching that energy theme across the board here. So, but yeah, anything else that you noticed there on the list? I noticed had a few metals and stuff in there.
Yeah, so those metals that are in that list, we're not seeing fresh names. They have been, because I keep every month I summarize the top launchpad thematics and I trawl through the leaders, find VCPs, pocket pivots, whatever. And that's my morning process every morning. I've almost copy and pasted the thematics from July to August, very close. And we're almost at the end of August. There haven't been many new additions. And uranium was actually one I added throughout the week. I didn't find any trades for me. But that's almost
golds and silver as well in there. Maybe red.
Yeah. Oh, I've tried. If anyone, like, there are some pure silver plays on ASX, but they just haven't done it for me. I think you listed one earlier in the list, but it's just there's not enough depth in it for me to be able for me to pull my signals out. But yes, silver's been good. Lead's been good. Lead's been in the list. Zinc's been in there for a long time. You'll find a lot of them actually in the earth together. No, so the rare earths are still there. We've got copper and graphite. Graphite's a hard one to trade. There are only a handful that are good trades in the ASX. And then I actually cut the list off when I sent you the screenshot, was right at the gold producers. And then I've had also all those diagnostic equipments. So your 40Xs, your Prometicus, that kind of thing. And then all the other companies, I think SKS and a few others are ones that I've sort of traded out within 3 or 4 days. Got breakout, entered, hit profit target, done. So they were really good. But those names aren't fresh. They've been on my watch list for 3, maybe 4 months, a lot of them. So that's what I'm getting at, is there's not a lot of turnover. But you're right to say, yes, uranium was that addition that I added into the August list. But chart-wise, you've got spot gold in front of us. Notice because VCP on that.
Yes, I mean, obviously this is, it's just, I had an amazing run here. I think it's, I get right with it when a index is up at, it's kind of expanded at 300%, which is normally when you get a bit of a breather. We have had a breather with gold from the last, 4 months or stuff there, but the whole thing's tightening up again. So, I think all eyes will be on gold here over the next few weeks, just because we sort of see the whole thing tightening up. Potentially sort of, you could argue that might be a little bit of a VCP slight breakout with VWAP here, Chris, as well. So
I was looking at some of the ETFs. They have a more pronounced VCP, particularly some of the US ones. Yeah.
So some of the gold names there. I noticed I don't know whether IBM's gold name there, but I noticed that has had a pullback there. It tightened up here. Again, I didn't trade this one because it was under the 50, but I did like to look at this. I probably could have traded this here on the break of that above the 50. But we can't take a look at every trade.
Iris tells me gold, nickel, copper, lithium.
Yeah, but I noticed a few of the gold plays, moving up here. I think CMM sort of be pretty robust as well. So probably just keep an eye on these golds here. But yeah, I'm still a little nervous about gold actually.
They were all a bit loose for me, the patterns. Yeah. So those, and there were 2 that were much further down, similar, like in the bottom half of the chart. They did have a VCP or something, but I don't want to try to laggard when we've had that kind of rally.
It probably just bothers me at the moment. Everyone, I reckon there's probably 85% to 90% that gold's going to break up here of the market. Yep. That worries me that
so much of the market's stacked the one side.
Yeah, so it's too many are sort of sitting in the same camp here. That worries me. Technically it's pretty strong here. I just noticed that's been a big move here. You zoom out on the monthly there. That's just an incredible move here. I mean, that's about a setup there. 1, 2, 3. There's our, 1, 2, 3 touch here. Once you go through the 4th term, you don't wait. Go with it. That's a major breakout. But there's been a little bit of a, just a bit of overhead supply here so far. So look, it's we're in unique times here. Gold can tend to do pretty well when inflation's a little bit elevated, so can keep going. but I'm just a little nervous of how many people seem to be overweight gold here at the moment.
Yeah. But in the launchpad list, so you got what? It's 29 metals.
Yeah, so number 7 there. Sorry, 6 is 29 metals. That's yeah, I mean, look, that's had that pretty good run. It's sort of undercut here. Has sort of moved back up again. So yeah, yeah, going back up to near the high here. So yeah, it's funny. I sort of haven't traded this stock here, but I'm kind of I'm in their corner. So I want them to do well because they sort of got they got caught there with floods and also just had a lot of bad luck. These guys, the companies, so you never want to see any companies do it tough here. So it's great to sort of see them starting to come out the other end. So yeah, so a bit of copper in there, which is always there's not too many copper players as well. So yeah, nice to sort of see these guys making a bit of a comeback here. So yeah, I'll watch this one here because maybe we'll get a little congestion there, a little handle or something. But yeah, trading quite well. Mentioned Deep Yellow just because a lot of those uranium names definitely pull back, and now they've look how fast they've actually. I mean, you know, William McNeil would say, look, what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days we're back at the new highs. So this is pull back under the 50 in 6 days. We got back. That's strength. You know what I mean? So that's why I sort of think this energy side here. Anytime we see any sort of energy stock come off here, you can't just go and buy them anywhere. But it's just a sector I think you're going to see. Yeah, like for me, because I look after portfolios as well, Chris. But I'm not trying to trade them as aggressively as a momentum trader. But I think any good energy stocks that do have a bit of a cool off there might be good to put in portfolios. Yeah. But yeah, look how fast that's rallied there. I think deep.
There wasn't a lot of resistance. Didn't do huge volumes on it.
Yeah,
It just got there. The pressure was lifted.
Yeah, I tried to buy this B wave here, but it cut through. So I thought, I know it's come back here, but oftentimes what they'll do is they'll run up here. I mean, we know this was a leader out of the low, Chris, as well. So we know when we're looking at, go back to October 22, October 23, March 23, gold was a leader out of that sector. It came out hard. So uranium came out hard out of this April low. But then we've had like an A, B, C. It's a pretty deep pullback. That happens to be 50% of the range, So, you run up pretty hard, you have come back half the range and then you build again. But it's gone so fast here. So it's gone back to the high here. So look, hopefully it does like an A, B. Maybe it'll congest back and curl up under the high here for a while and give us a leader. But we should be watching this sector. No doubt about it. But not a good entry here. Hopefully this can congest here, either make a handle or maybe even come back and retest the low here or something. But definitely a sector I'm keeping an eye on. Even NXL. Oh, actually, that's actually Nuix there. So yeah, it's funny. So the Nuix and Macquarie MAC were the two companies I was looking to buy out of that April low. So I thought that because they were previous leaders. And then, but then I look at the valuations of those companies on massive multiples, and the price action wasn't that interesting coming out of the April low. Okay, this one's took a while to get going here. There's a bit of volume there, Chris. The last few days, it did sort of wash out here. Did report? I didn't think the report was that great here, but for some reason, we've got in here at 3 days up on pretty good volume out of that report. That sort of says something here. That's what I mean. We're going to be careful that try and outsmart the market. Price action is telling us something's going on here. So, even though the report maybe wasn't that red hot, but yeah, I'll watch this one here. Maybe it can sort of go again, but valuation's pretty large. So,
it reminds me of Macquarie Telecom over a decade ago. Had a client who was reasonably positioned there, and he waited until the announcement came out. When the announcement came out, he just called me and he's like, "Is it public yet?" And he just plowed on there and just bought. And so I was busy, like this wasn't a liquid stock, and I was just buying. And I was trying to read it, and I was talking to other analysts, people in the market, what's so good about this report? And I just couldn't understand it. They couldn't get it either. But it reminded me that this volume, like we shot the volume up, we did magnitudes of the volume because you just bought everything you could get. And we'll have a look at Macquarie Telecom for 10, 15 years. It went on an absolute tear. I couldn't understand it. The analysts didn't see much in it, but it took the industry expert who works in the industry full time to identify it, a bit like Pro Medicus buying into 4DX.
Yeah.
So when you see an event like that where you look at the report and go, it wasn't that crash hot, but then the volume spikes and the price rallies, it tells me that someone's got a huge amount of conviction behind it, and to deploy that amount of capital and push through that many price steps without holding back, you have a high conviction. So.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny how you sort of see that, because after that sort of set, after that first day up here, I thought, well, that's a big volume bar. After sort of like almost exhausted, coming back and retesting the low, and then a reversal here. Oftentimes you sort of see those go on after that, you know. But again, I looked at the report and thought, I can't see anything great in there. And
Yeah.
the reporting season's been pretty wacky this year. There's been some big moves up and down. So
What was it last night? NVIDIA beat expectations, got torn. Wow. And so yeah, it's just that it's expectations, but what are the expectations on the expectations? Anyway, we've digressed. So NXL, Nuix, what's next on the launchpad list?
so that's IEL sort of gapped up here, but yeah. So this one was, I've been mentioning this one previously. They're coming, showing a little bit of strength. They're coming out there. Just got a lot of overhead there, so it's going to be tough to make its way through overhead. So, yeah, not for me personally. OBM was one that I mentioned. It's broken off there. Polynova is an interesting chart, similar to sort of the Nuix there. Didn't seem to be too much in the result yet, the volume, but we have gone up pretty strongly there. So there's like 3 or 4 strong bars there. So yeah, for me, I mean, it has gone through a little B wave there. So it's gone up here. It's sort of congested there. There was a little break in there, but it didn't go on with it. And it's come slightly lower, like a little false break here, and then reverse there. So this one goes on my radar just because this is pretty chunky volume. So, I'll, see if this doesn't sort of congest and tighten up here. But yeah, it's definitely one to watch here, DNB rather than trade there. PPS. Yeah, I did think this is interesting. Because obviously, we've seen NetWealth and Hub do pretty well, and Chromium reported pretty well. So obviously gapped up, then kind of sold off there. With still, we often do see that sometimes the names are gap up and then a little bit of selling there. I noticed the next day it sort of held, was even stronger buying here. So I thought this was pretty good. I mean, there is a bigger VCP in here. So yeah, I thought this was pretty interesting, just because everyone's counting this potentially to be a takeover target by Hub or NetWealth or one of the other players. So that portfolio administration sort of services, definitely getting more popular. So
Yeah. Well, in that space, actually, if you load up RPL, that was when I was long, and the report seemed okay, and couldn't figure out why it was absolutely getting tanked. And it was all these shares came out of escrow. It was all the insiders were finally able to sell, and they just absolutely tanked it down. But
maybe that's something with the bigger data today. Maybe it was a good result yesterday and it's gapped down today. Maybe that's maybe it's a day where you get
they got
swing. Yeah.
I was another client who had a really high, very, very, very high role in a very large US company. And her window was so narrow that she had less than 6 weeks of a year where she could actually trade. And so quite often it was in those after the announcements, but everything became public. There were only times where she could actually sell. And the volume that comes in then, obviously you've got people trading, but you've also got the insiders. This is my only chance. And I have, the next 7 days to sell this. Otherwise I've got to wait another 3 months.
Yeah. I should remember Macquarie used to be like that too, because then everyone worked, Macquarie only had a few windows. They had might have been 4 1-week windows, or something,
ridiculously tight.
Yeah, but to the point where everyone knew about it. everyone knew the windows. So
You just stand away, let it drop, and then come back in.
yeah. But I thought ASM was interesting. It's a bit loose, but it is a VCP tightening up here. We've seen a few of them work out recently. It's not my preferred setup. I prefer to see it tighter. Zim is a little tighter. We've got a little bit of, we've got sort of strength there and then a consolidation going on here. So this is definitely one to keep an eye on. Definitely, I think if you zoom out here on the weekly, that's a little bit more interesting because you sort of had that burst and then we've sort of gone sideways here. Again, if we sort of, that sort of fallback technique, we've come out of the lows, come back to the high, pull back, go again. So yeah, it's sort of one that's interesting here, but again, it's a little loose, this one. Yeah, I thought why L was missed small here. I thought this is an interesting setup. That's had that big burst like we like to see. It's come back a bit deeper than we'd like to see, like a sort of to see it saying the stop up, stay on the top half here. But we have seen a bit of a burst again, pull back, another burst, pull back, tighten up here. So you got a bit of a VCP coming onto you, but it does have, you prefer this not to have come back so deep. NXG. Yeah, it's broken through the top there. I did see this one, ACE. Bit hard to trade. This is Excensus, which does all the speed cameras. But this was a
You talked about this on before.
Yeah, so I was watching this one pretty closely there. But yeah, again, you couldn't really trade it. I couldn't, you might have any more than 15,000 shares. You're probably you're looking to go through 2 or 3 layers of shares. So it's hard to buy.
Yeah.
But it's funny. As soon as it cracked through the B wave, then it's just gone pop. So it has retreated again. But yeah, I do like this company. I just a little messy. It's a little, it's a bit gappy and stuff here. So not easy to trade. I don't like to be, I don't like to be in too many shares. I just prefer to be concentrated, and I like to be in liquid stuff as well. So
Yeah. Because if there's one that I've been trying to buy today and it's up maybe 300-400% in the last 6 months, it's coiled in the top third. It's a nice VCP right up there. So it's high type flag, VCP, all happening. And then I've been on the bid for 3 days and it just hasn't traded much volume at all. And while it has coiled, it's coiled to the extent where it's become untradeable.
Yeah.
So there's a fine line with that. There are still a couple of requests in there. Were there any more on your list?
no.
So the requests, I think AEE, did we cover that one? AEE? Oral?
AEE, is it?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, a bit small here, but yeah.
Kind of covered handle-ish, but
yeah, no, it's kind of to make high there, so yeah.
KAU, Kilo Alpha Umbrella.
Yeah, similar, bit choppy, bit lightly traded there. Not really the fluency.
See, only recently, but that's hard.
Yeah, it's not really sort of trending sort of stock there.
It must just be those last few days on the volume that's been able to get it into the list, because that kind of thing normally doesn't get in. But who knows? Could be insiders with the conviction. Last one, Weebit Nano, which was actually momentum, but I missed that right at the start, I think.
Yeah, I did see this one actually. I did. Yeah, it's now looking a bit extended there. Yeah, I mean it's Hangul. It's sitting on the 10 at the moment, but yeah, it's.
So looking at those pullbacks that it had mid-July, mid-August, down at the 20, just undercutting the 20 a little bit. Would you like to see a handle here, possibly let the 20 bay catch up to where it is, maybe 270, 280, compressing around there? Would that kind of be an optimal setup you'd want to see it unfold?
Yeah, I mean, it had some good volume through there, Chris, and then so it hasn't, you haven't had too much. I mean, the 2 days down here, pretty low volume. It's just sort of starting to run out of puff a little bit. Looks like it's running out of puff here to me. But yeah, probably just go back, and me personally, I'd probably go to look at the stock's personality and just sort of see how it trades in the past. So it's a little pretty whippy. So it's got that propensity to whip back pretty fast. So Me personally, I want to have my stop pretty tight on this one here. Just it's got the ability to whip back pretty hard.
Quite surprised right now. Zoom's just muting that out, so it's really good. Sorry, bless you.
But yeah, no, I know, yeah, it's a nice run now. I did sort of see this going to a little bit of a B-wave break here. There was some good volume coming out of this here, breaking this high. So, but yeah, looks okay. The good thing there is you haven't seen any selling here yet. That's probably the plus. Is that so far we haven't seen any the down days that not bringing much selling at all. I mean, those two down days there are very light selling. So it's still holding on there. So if you're long this position, you'd be staying long still. Me personally, I'll sell some in the strength, and then I try and let one of the moving averages guide me on the rest. Looking back here, and it's something when it doesn't move, it can run through the 10, but then the 20 tends to cut both of them pretty regularly. So yeah, it's a hard stock here because it's a bit loose in nature, not like you can see there on the 2-year chart there, it's ups and downs. The pullbacks are pretty large here. So, yeah, tricky to trade.
Yeah, right. Well, that's a good list on the Launchpad and the momentum. Thank you, Gary. And for those who have been members for the YouTube channel so far, we are launching level 2 at the end of the month. Thank you very much for the feedback. If you want to jump in there and see what the reports are before we kick on level 2, level 1 members get full access to what level 2 gets for the next couple of days. So thank you very much, Gary Glover from Novus Capital.
Thanks, Chris.